Hey team, good morning everybody. There was a time back in the day when my Saturday mornings were called quickies, but now they've gotten much longer and much bigger. So 40 nuggets today. We're going to touch on a lot of stuff. Some very interesting thought experiments as well. Today we're going to touch on as well as some revolutionary changes that are happening in the world that you all need to be aware of. So excuse me, happy Saturday. Crypto market cap is about 1.61 trillion, about 400 million off of where 400 billion off of where it was a few days ago. Volume low, down to 48 billion from about 70 billion, and Bitcoin's at 42. Let me check it right now, actually. Bitcoin is at exactly 42.4, so it's still hovering above that 42k. Bitcoin dominance 50%, ETH 2250, and what else? Fear and Greed 67, usual stuff. But anyway, this is edutainment, excuse me, as you know. And the story today, we're going to look at some transformational things, as well as a couple of hypothetical situations. And talk about what if, say, the crypto market cap goes to 5 trillion. I teased that yesterday because I asked myself the same question. What would the impact be on things like the price of Solana going forward? So we're going to analyze dominance from a calculation perspective. And the number that I backed into was kind of scary. Anyway, more on that in a minute. And don't forget to subscribe to get smarter. That's it. Let's go. Last week, in Bitcoin terms, you can see dark green, Cardano, Avalanche, Polkadot, etc. Solana up a little bit, beat Bitcoin by about 5%. Nothing too big though. In melting fiat terms, you can see here it's a different story. ETH lost nearly 5% to Bitcoin, or 5% for the week. Bitcoin down 4% for the week. XRP got hit hard. So did Chainlink, so did Matic, so did Doge, so did Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin. They had a very bad week, but you know, I consider a lot of that stuff old technology. Wait till you see the armies come after me now. This is literally a world where you gotta be on the latest, greatest tech. Old stuff with tech debt no longer floats. That's what we think anyway. We'll see if we're wrong. Let's talk about Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, because, by the way, it's a store of value. Yes, it is old tech, but it's not designed to be new tech. It's designed to be safe and secure. So that's why it is the way it is. Now let's look at some historic bull market drawdowns, courtesy of Blockware Intelligence. You can see this week's dip that freaked everybody out to 42,000 is hardly a blip on the radar of historical bull market drawdowns. And coming in at that 6% is really nothing. It's a nothing burger. And nothing has changed structurally as far as the bullish market goes. Bitcoin is still up 160% for the year. And yeah, everything is still completely fine. And this volatility is why we're in it. Volatile assets do better over time. Now, there's other good news as well. Another tailwind for Bitcoin. The FASB, which is a Financial Accounting Standards Board, they came out and they announced declaring private firms must enter Bitcoin and other digital assets into their accounts according to their fair value. This is great. Before, they had to value it like a baseball card and just plug it in at the value of its lowest ever price during the term that it's been held, which is ridiculous, especially for a volatile asset. So this would be a great news for things like Bitcoin treasuries as we go forward. So that was good this week. In addition, this is a quick and dirty summary. Shout out to Justice for All. I get a lot of questions as to how would you convince a loved one that Bitcoin is not bad, it's not a scam, etc. Well, this is kind of a piecing together of lots of data points from the week. First of all, there's between 1.8 million and 2 million Bitcoin left in exchanges. That's not very much. It's expected that BlackRock will have to buy at least 1 million Bitcoin to support their customers. All right, so we go from, say, 2 million on exchanges. BlackRock takes 1 million. There's 1 million left, okay? Hypothetically. But there's more, as always. There are 12 other ETFs and public companies that might adopt fair value accounting. 12 other ETFs vying for that 1 million Bitcoin left. Interesting. In addition, I know ESG is crap and everything else, but Bitcoin might be considered an ESG asset this cycle. The Financial Times is also reporting it as an ESG asset, and we know BlackRock is a big ESG player, at least they used to be. They're trying to distance themselves from that right now. And nation states, more of them, are mining Bitcoin because they're using their unlimited renewable energy, and also nation states might also acquire Bitcoin as a treasury asset. And 78% of Bitcoins are liquid. So if you're having a conversation with a loved one or a friend or whatever, and they have, I don't know, I'm not going to say what it is, but if they don't get that, they'll never get anything. This thing is the hardest, scarcest asset we've ever had in our lives, and that makes it so beautiful. And we're only just beginning. In addition, shout out to, this is from the Rational Root. He put together this beautiful little chart of how we are so close to $1 trillion market cap again. And this triggered a couple of thoughts in my mind. Okay, so Bitcoin's not far from that $1 trillion market cap. What does that mean for the rest of the crypto market? And how high can we go this bull run? So last time we went to 3 trillion. This time, base level, base. I see us going to 5 trillion. We'll talk more about the impact of that in a minute too. In addition, Pantera, shout out to Sanjay, he shared this with me. They came out with a cool little chart, and that's Bitcoin performance relative to tech companies in 2023 year to date. Meta, 171% up. That's one of the few big tech companies that actually, the only big tech company that actually, Nvidia beat Bitcoin as well. So there's two. I don't know why they left Nvidia off the list. Anyway, Bitcoin's up 162% year to date. Tesla, 97%. Amazon, 75%. Square, 9%. And PayPal, minus 18%. So these kind of fintech companies have surprised many. But you don't need to own a fintech company when you own Bitcoin. Bitcoin's already a better fintech company, in my mind, as I see. Anyway, let's talk about the December so far. Hey, Johnny, thank you so much. December so far, last week was up 17%. This week is only up 12.31%, but we're still up in December, and we have 2 weeks left. And those 2 weeks, I think, will be good. We'll talk more about why in a minute. Let's look at the layer 1s and layer 2s, all the deltas, all the changes this week. We like to do a quick and dirty summary of who did well. So year to date, the winner is still Solana, up 660%. TVL, Aptos wins. Fees, Arbitrum wins. Weekly developers, Tron wins. Daily active users, Solana wins again, up 82%. And daily transactions, Arbitrum wins. So these are just the 7-day change from last time. And it's very good to get a good feel of exactly who is taking over in the space, especially if you have two categories, you do well. Now, it was an interesting time as well this week. You know, a lot of people, there's a lot of talk about layer 1s, layer 2s. Shout out to Mert. We had Mert on the channel on Thursday, and it was a deep dive. A lot of people found it very confusing, very difficult to follow. But if you are in crypto, you have to listen to that video. I'll add a link here later, or just search my video from Thursday. It basically breaks down what crypto is and where the asymmetric bet is going forward. But a little bit of talk about modular versus monolithic. But here, this is why L2s actually technically do not solve any problems. So if you look at what rollups spent on posting data to Ethereum in November, Arbitrum, nearly 4.5 million. Linea, 3.7 million. Optimism, 2.5 million. ZK, 2.5 million. Scroll, 1.43. Base, 1.34 million. Polygon, 678,000. Starknet, 500K, etc. You can see there's a huge amount of cost within these layer 2s just to post data to Ethereum as kind of like the settlement layer. And that inefficiency has to go away because that's not sustainable, especially if you want to onboard 1 billion users to crypto. In addition, some interesting stuff happened as well with the A's. And it's no coincidence, or maybe it is a coincidence, but I call it the A's are spiking up and down. Thank you, Mr. Hammer. How are you, buddy? But inscriptions are breaking chains. This is from Hitesh. And Arbitrum experienced downtime, was down for a few hours yesterday. Avalanche went under inscriptions attack and causing transaction price to spike to $10. And that also had a huge impact on Avalanche fees. They made a ton of money yesterday. And Aptos also spiked. They did 2.1 billion transactions in a day. And of course, because they all charge so much, it translates to huge fees. But how sustainable is that? That's the big question. In addition, speaking of Dex volume, I covered a few days ago that Solana flipped Ethereum for NFT volume, and I said it's only a matter of time before it does it for Dex. Well, that happened yesterday. This is my little tweet. Solana flips Ethereum in 24-hour Dex volume for the first time in history. But it wasn't just a narrow beating. It was nearly 1.5 billion versus 1.164 billion. That's big. And number 3 in the box is Arbitrum, 721 million. By the way, BSC used to do nearly $1 billion in revenue a day, but it shows you they're falling away. And Avalanche did 200 million. So interesting to see exactly how fast the black hole thing is moving along. Speaking of fees too, Solana's making a lot of money as well, like everybody else, because they have priority fees. If you don't want to wait, you can pay. And now priority fees are a big chunk. They're the majority of all fees being paid on Solana right now. Now, Mert, again, guest on the show, friend of the family here, he summarized it beautifully, far more eloquently than I ever could. He said he spoke about Bitcoin wealth generation events, PITH, G2, BONK, etc. BONK is the #1 token in crypto at the moment. It's insane. Solana Mobile is sold out. Solana DEXs flipped Ethereum DEXs. Solana NFTs flipped to Ethereum. Solana fee capture is increasing 10x, and many tokens are launching soon. Let's go. So there's a lot of stuff all happening real fast. If you asked me at the beginning of the year, would Solana flip Ethereum for NFTs and Dex volume, I said maybe late 2025, 2024 perhaps. Not this year, but that's how things are happening. And it goes in line with my black hole sun strategy, which now has become a meme all over Twitter, which is awesome. I love that. Let's look at another fun view from one of our dashboards. I thought it would be interesting to see which one has arisen from the dead the best. And I've got this thesis that when you are 12 months into a bull run and you're still at all-time lows or very close to it, or you haven't come off, you become a kind of a zombie, like a dead asset. And that's why I like this chart. That's why the team built it for me. And you can see here, there are things that are just literally on the bottom. And there are things that have come off the bottom the most so far this year in this bull run. And the winners are the top 3 are #1 Solana, #2 RUNE, and #3 Lido. The things that are kind of very small bars, beware of them, unless of course they're newly issued tokens, then it's off the charts. Okay, next let's talk about what I mentioned before, that kind of thought experiment in my head. Bitcoin $1 trillion market cap, it's in reach. It's going to happen real soon. The question is, what impact does it have on the rest of the crypto market cap? So in my mind, I'm always asking myself questions. And I suggest everybody always question yourself, question everything. It really builds a lot of creativity. So I did tweet this yesterday regarding the Solana dominance so far this year. What blew me away is we're at nearly 2.2. The all-time high for Solana on dominance was like 2.5 or something, 2.45. So again, we are so early, yet the dominance of Solana is going through the roof. The question is, what happens if the coin market cap goes to 5 trillion? By the way, 5 trillion is my conservative, sandbagged total crypto market cap this bull run. So within 18 months or 24 months, or maybe even a year, we could hit 5 trillion market cap. A lot of that will be driven by Bitcoin, of course. And I do expect SOL dominance to hit at least 3%. So the question is, if CMC goes to 5 trillion, SOL dominance goes to 3%, what is the price of SOL? Watch out. So we did some calculations. Again, going back to the compendium that we can pull in. We look at the relative market caps of each and do the calculation as follows. If CMC goes to 5 trillion, SOL 3%, that means the market cap of SOL goes to 150 billion, and the current SOL market cap is 31 billion. And that is a 4.84x from where we are today times $75. That would take the SOL price to a ridiculous $363. Thank you so much, Jimmy. Now, that sounds insane. Absolutely insane, considering you could have bought a year ago for $8 or under $10 for quite a few days. But when you break this down, will the crypto market cap go to 5 trillion? I think 80% chance plus it will. Second of all, will SOL dominance go to 3% or more? Yes. You add those two together, you get 363. So mathematically, I can justify it, even though it sounds outrageous. So a lot of people ask, is it too late to get into SOL? Well, do the math for yourself and make your own decisions. That's why we share the data. In addition, other crazy news too. Solana was mocked and ridiculed, like I was, when they launched a phone. But guess what? It's sold out. You can't get them for love nor money now in the US. And you can probably get them on eBay or something. But be careful buying anything that's on eBay, especially a thing that is a security device like a wallet. But now, as of a few hours ago, a $599 Solana phone, Saga is what it's called, came with $575 worth of BONK. So the BONK pays for the phone. I just find this kind of crazy. And the traders, part of the reason for the sellout was this is from, I can't remember the name of the CoinDesk, I think it was. They came out and said the sales of Solana phone surge as traders chase BONK arbitrage. Yes, they're buying the phone to get BONK. But why not? When the phone was issued, BONK was pretty much worthless. And it shows you how things change so fast in this space. Let's look at the stock market too for a minute. Pretty good week. A lot of things up and down. Pretty good week for Tesla, Google, etc. So not too bad at all. But I want to focus on more important things, breaking that out. First of all, Marathon Mining broke their own record. They shattered their own record of mines in 24 hours. They mined 125.8 Bitcoin, worth over 5 million. That's in a day. So people ask, why do you invest in Bitcoin miners? Because they literally print money. Okay, 126 Bitcoin in a day. That's insane. So imagine what the other ones are doing too. We just don't have those records yet. But congratulations to Marathon. And of course, a lot of that is due to ordinals and fees and such. And other crazy news regarding what's going on in the world. A lot of people want to get Powerwall, like UPS storage for their house in case of electrical outages. Different parts of the world have terrible problems with electricity. But guess what? Your Cybertruck is a Powerwall, and it can power your house with electricity for up to 3 days when there's an outage. So you no longer have to buy a Powerwall if you have a Cybertruck. And that's why these things are selling like hotcakes. They've I think Sawyer Mert said they have decided to sell the Foundation Edition out to middle of 2024 because the demand is so high. People have no problem spending 120 grand on this thing. And that's the special edition that comes with every single feature and function and floor mat you can imagine, as well as free FSD and everything else. So the 120k actually for the Cyber Beast is actually a great deal. And if I got an email saying, do you want one? I'd say yes, of course. And also the Cybertruck is ramping fast. The shout out to Joe Tegmeyer. You can see here they had a whole bunch. They had 15 more in the south end, 19 in the outbound lot, 3 testing, the helipad, etc. One was even in scrap from a crash test. So insane amount of production. This thing is ramping fast. I issued my walking the line, as I call it, video with shout out to Bill, Ford engineer, who broke it down for me, explaining to me how everything works. The whole line is completely automated. It's completely automated. Okay, it's basically surveyed by engineers upstairs that look at cameras on computers and monitor everything as perfect. There's no human hammering anything together on the production line. And that's what people fail to grasp. And we are at the cusp of a revolution. Absolute cusp. So anyway, back to Bitcoin and pension funds. This is the Valkyrie CEO, Stephen McGlurk. He said that he knows for a fact that insurance companies and pension funds are looking at Bitcoin as an investment. So when we talk about BlackRock buying 1 million Bitcoin in short order, you have no idea how much some pension funds actually hold in money. Trillions, even if they allocate 1%. That's it. Bitcoin's gone. It's gone. Finished. Finito. Anyway, in other little bit of sad news too, France apparently follows Germany into recession. You can see the 2 largest economies in the Eurozone already are, unfortunately, their PMI, which is manufacturing index, is in the toilet. And this is a leading indicator of a recession. But Christine Lagarde's hawkish rhetoric would tell you otherwise. Are these central bankers intentionally trying to torch economies for the Great Reset? I'm not sure. And confirmation that the economies are in the toilet in Europe. The Eurozone slump deepens with recession odds very high. S&P's global PMI contracted for a 7th straight month in December, falling to 47, and that defied economist expectations of an uptick, and they still predicted that they would be above 50. But no, they were wrong, so that's not good. Anyway, shout out to everybody in Europe. Hope everything is not as bad as these charts portray. Fingers crossed the data's wrong. In addition, why I believe 2024 is going to be a hoot. It's going to be wild. Obviously, we did say the first cut would happen in March. People were initially expecting June, July timeframe. But now the big institutions of Wall Street are reading the bond market charts. January will be a hold. And by the way, they had 3 separate holds as well, which means the next step is a cut. That's just history. March, 25 basis point cut. May, another one. And June, another one. And hold in July, because they're probably on vacation down the beach. September, November, December, 3 more cuts. So for those of you who are in the, debating whether or not you should buy a house, as I say, if you see a deal, okay, and it's a great price and it's $150,000 off the house or whatever, buy it. Struggle with the high mortgage rate for 7.5% for, say, 6 to 9 months, and then refi a year from now. Even get a short-term loan too. That's the way to go. And in fact, the short-term 2-year, 5-year mortgages are falling fast as well. In addition, this is crazy. All right, we are literally 1.6% away from an all-time high in the S&P 500. That can happen in a day. And what's crazy is more than half of the analysts out there, and the people on CNBC, etc., are all forecasting the end of the world. 70% stock market crash, no gains for 10 years, worst financial crash coming, 70% crash, 50% crash, blah, blah, blah. Everywhere you go, you'll find this. And they'll still continue to say it, despite the data says this. Again, money is being printed. Let me show you one way in which it's being printed. Banks are being kept alive artificially by the Fed with the BTFP program. If the Fed allows the BTFP to expire, small banks' reserves will immediately fall and they will go out of business. They will hit the wall and die. There is no way the Fed can stop this BTFP program. It's still being hit up for cash every single week. And that's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. Everything's held together by money printing and money flow, and that floats all boats. So with that, everybody, see you tomorrow for the big Q&A. Shout out to everybody here in the chat. Thank you to TND Tesla for keeping us all safe. And a big shout out to everybody on Patreon too. Got a little Patreon mug. And thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.